All right. I don't know why I did that. I don't got sync checked at least squat. Anyway.
The editor will squat.
That guy. Yeah, he'll finally.
Squat.
Yeah, he'll look at that and be like, "Thank God he clapped."
Thank God.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Anyway, now you're just gonna confuse him. David.
Hello.
How the hell are you?
Jeremy. I'm good. How are you?
It's been so long.
It has. It's been.
It actually has. It's been several months.
It's been a few months. Absolutely.
It's been a bit. How have you been?
I've been very good.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
Excellent.
Looks like the world is coming back to life.
Just a bit. At
I
least
hope so.
just a little bit. You know, world's waking back up. So is magic. There's been shows. People have been doing shows.
Yeah, absolutely. It was nice. I got called back from the castle.
Yeah.
When they opened up the close-up gallery, and so that was nice. And so we went and did that.
Very good. Very good.
It was all right.
And you were one of the first after they opened up, right?
Well, the thing is that it's just not the same. You can't see audience reaction with a mask on.
Fair.
And because they're in close quarters, they have to have that. And then getting in is just, they have a line that goes around the block, apparently, because they have to check everyone's temperature, and then you got to come in and show proof of vaccination or negative test.
Right.
And then getting people in there. Some people are sketch about being in a close-up situation.
And that is the closest room in the
Oh, and I have people right next to me too. So it wasn't the same.
Okay.
It's probably not going to be the same for a long time, but it is what it is. We need to move forward.
Fair.
The world has to go.
How fun was it finally getting to perform in front of live audiences again?
You know what? Because they were wearing the mask, it didn't.
Tough to read.
Yeah. Well, the people that sit up at the table are a proxy for the audience. If they react to something or they laugh or something like that, you can see people laugh. When people see other people laugh or react, they also laugh and react.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you block the mouth on this area, right, and you can't see any of that, that takes away from the experience, I think.
That makes sense.
It's, but it is what it is, and again, we got to move forward, and we'll move forward.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and steps are being taken, which is great. That's awesome.
Well, the fact that it's reopened and that we are on the road to recovery, the whole country in general, I would think, that's positive. I think that's great.
I agree. Very good. Okay. All right. Well, I wanted to just real quickly have a chat with you, get a little bit about your history, about some of the stuff that you've done specifically with that style of character that you've been so famous at performing with. Wanted to talk a little bit about the work that you've done, not just in performing, but also in written form, because you've released a couple of books.
I have.
Yeah. And then talk about what you have planned in the future, some of the stuff that you're working on now that you're excited about.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
So, to begin, you don't have to give me the whole story, but could you give me an overarching view of what it is that got you so stuck on cards, so stuck at the table?
Well, I went to, ever since I was a kid, I remember watching, invited over to my best friend's house for his birthday, and I remember seeing a magician there. That kind of got me interested, but I enjoyed it. I just never pursued it at all. Okay. And then when I went to Las Vegas when I was 16 years old, and somebody did a card trick for me and did some close-up magic. I got to learn how that's done. They taught me how to do a card trick, and that's all that I knew. I knew how to do one particular card trick. Still use it to this day.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely.
Is it just one of those ones that's followed you through?
Fantastic trick.
Okay.
I mean, Michael Weber is correct in saying the first magic that you learn is the best magic. Because I like to, nowadays I create my own stuff.
Right.
But in the beginning, I always made it a point to only perform magic that really I loved watching. Like if I was stunned by it.
If you're sold by it.
Right, and I thought, wow, if I was sold by this or stunned, then I know what the effect it's going to have when I perform it for other people.
That makes sense.
And so that has always been, in the beginning, my guiding light as to what to perform and what not to. Whatever I particularly like, I'll do. Now, Paul Potassi, the late Paul Potassi, the late great Paul Potassi, he said, well, for him it wasn't the same. For him it was like he may see something that he likes, but if he tries it, it may not fit his performing persona or character, and so therefore he may love it, but he lets it go. I haven't run across that.
Okay.
whatever I saw, and I thought, wow, my God, I was blown away by it. I go, I know what this is going to do to my audiences. So I would go to whatever lengths it took to learn how to do it properly, right?
Okay.
So that I could get that across.
Okay, so do you feel like you were interested inherently in the magic that you do, or do you feel like the magic that you do now was influenced by the things that amazed you, or was it a little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both. More so influenced by the magic that amazed me and how you fall into it. I think if you meet like a stage magician, maybe you'll go in that direction as opposed to close up. But I was in college, and all I knew was this one card trick. And a buddy of mine, when he came home, I went to college on the East Coast. He brought up a book on how to do card tricks, Garcia and Schindler's Magic with Cards.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And subsequently, I have Schindler's autograph in that same book.
Do you?
But I missed getting Garcia's autograph by a couple of weeks because he passed away on an airplane, believe it or not.
What? Okay.
I believe it was in Phoenix, Arizona, or whatever, on the tarmac, and
Someone down and
he passed away. I've been in an airplane with someone's died in the airplane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
that causes a lot of trouble.
Yeah, maybe a bit. Yeah.
And this was pre September 11th.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, regardless. So I got this book, and I began learning trick after trick after trick, and became known as the guy on the campus that does card tricks.
Right.
And then later on, after I got into professional life after that, got really hit by the magic bug bad, left my former life and decided to do magic professionally.
Okay. Very good. So how long would you say you've been doing it now professionally?
Professionally, about almost 30 years. 25, minimum 25. Let's see, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What was it about? Because you said, I'm assuming over the course of time you've met several different styles of magicians. What was it that drew you to this style, to the table, to the hardcore technical stuff?
Well, the hardcore technical stuff was something I fell in love with because when you first get into it, you love to practice.
Right.
And I loved gambling, first and foremost. I never saw a reason for magic. I thought magic was pretty much, to me, was pedantic. It was stupid.
Okay.
But I still liked it. I still loved it. I'm not throwing magic under the bus.
Right.
But I'm saying that from my standpoint, first of all, I always loved gambling.
Okay.
Right. And my first trip to Las Vegas when I was 16, I was taken in by the town. I said, I'm definitely going to come back. And I did. When I was 20, I moved to Las Vegas, believe it or not.
Okay.
Part of that was to pursue a career counting cards.
Yeah, to be a gambler, to be
Right.
Okay.
I loved it, still do. I'm not in that world that much anymore.
Okay.
But I'll tell you one thing. When you meet people that do that for a living, you realize they're in a different stratosphere as well. I was more of an entertainer. I saw it from a magic standpoint.
Right.
But then when you meet the people that really do, and most of them have become, not most of professional gamblers, but people that a lot of people in magic know, have become dear friends of mine. In fact, a lot of people that you'll never know and never heard of, never meet, or anything like that. And you realize they operate in a different world.
Right.
And it's some of them have an aptitude for it, like Big JB, who was Steve Forte's mentor.
Right.
Right. He was probably one of the greatest gin players ever to play the game, at least that I know of.
Okay.
So he had an aptitude for it that was a je ne sais quoi, an unknown.
Something in there like he was.
Exactly.
Okay.
That he was so good at this.
Okay.
Same thing with Steve Forte with blackjack, or with Ron Conley with poker.
Right.
Ron Conley was probably 40 years ahead of his time. They were doing things in the 70s that are now just today coming to light.
They're like just catching up right now?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But these are things that they discovered, that for example, Ron discovered on his own, as opposed to reading in a book like Super Systems or learning them from other gamblers. Right. That's them operating on a different level. It's the same thing with magicians who invent stuff. They just have an aptitude for it.
And like a curiosity, like they're chasing the ideas while everyone else is.
They're
reading about
obsessed with it. That's
Yeah.
all they do 24/7.
Okay.
And so we see that in a lot of different areas. Wherever you're at, there are always people in that particular area that are really just excellent,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
They're maybe 10% better, or they're 10% smarter. Mike Weber's one of those people.
Right. Right.
Maybe he's, let's just say for sake of argument, he's 2% better or smarter than anyone else, right?
Right.
But that 2% compounded over and over again
Right.
ends up creating a moat that is very, very difficult, if not impossible, to get to. He's just a genius. He's a brilliant man. Mike Skinner was a genius and a brilliant man in his own way as well.
Right.
Tony Giorgio. Some of the younger guys, Arthur Trace, David Kovac is excellent as far as from a performing standpoint, right? Arthur Trace, very, very artistic. Matt Marcy, Henrik Nagash,
Oh yeah.
brilliant. There's a lot. There's a lot of guys out there.
Yeah, and my twin brother, he made a really good point. You know, you've got artists, you have artists, and then you have the artists that could be artists, but they're busy being artists.
Correct.
And those guys, I feel like they make themselves known pretty quickly, you know, because they are respected on the same level for completely different reasons by the outside world and the inside world. And I'm seeing a lot more of those guys come out. Like, I don't know whether it's because of social media or whatever it is, but it's making those guys so much more accessible than I feel like they were even 10 years ago, because you're seeing some of their work now. Before, a lot of the time you could only see them if you went to a performance that they happened to be at, right? But now you could find where they're at much easier. In a couple of instances, especially because of the pandemic, some of them switched over to a digital form. You watch some of what they've done, or they release recordings of live performances, and it's a completely different world.
That's true. I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. It's easier to, you don't have to go somewhere to the epicenter of magic, for example, to see great performances now, because they're online. And even with Zoom now, because of the pandemic, you can actually sit in a lecture on some of these people that you've just read about or watched on it. They're far more accessible.
Yeah,
100% right.
Well, okay, so you've been at this now for
quite some time.
Yeah. Call it 3 decades, rounding. So over the course of that time, you've developed a character that is, shall we say, not quintessential. I want to find a good word for this. You've developed a character that has become very well known, very popular, but it's all you. You know, His Majesty the King. And I wanted to talk with you. How did that character come to be?
Well, because of my association with Tony Giorgio, I pursued an acting career for many, many years. I didn't apply myself the way that I probably should have, because magic was always was my muse, my first love. But I even went to acting classes with Tony, believe it or not. We would do scene study together. Now here's a guy that's been in The Godfather, he's been in 200 movies and television shows, and he was still practicing, just like any professional would. Anyway, and so along the lines, I learned how to develop a character. And a lot of people misunderstand. They think that the person that they're meeting in the showroom is real.
Is that person,
and they don't understand that I'm a totally different person than what they are meeting in the showroom. So we were out, a very, very good friend of mine, my chiropractor, believe it or not, and one of my dearest friends, if not my closest friend, probably knows more about me than anyone. We were at a sushi place in Covina, California, right down by where he works. And this waitress, I was chatting her up, and she goes, "You're Italian, aren't you?" And I go, "Of course." She goes, "What's your name?" And I said, I lied to her. I said, "My name is Luciano Scala."
Right, okay.
And anyway, so then when I handed her the credit card, it's like she knew it wasn't Luciano Scala.
Right.
But then my buddy came up with a great idea. He goes, "Dave, you ought to do Luciano Scala." So the first iteration of somebody other than myself, actually the first iteration of me was doing a gambling act, for example, at the Castle, under my regular name, but people thought it was more like a Damon Runyon character.
Right. Okay.
And people thought, oh, this guy must, be on the gambling tables and this and that and the other thing. Then it was Luciano Scala, and I talked in an Italian accent. And I don't break character. People would come up after the show and speak to me in broken English.
Right.
We are going on a cruise to Italy. And I would, as if they were speaking.
Yeah, right. Like you don't, yeah, right.
And then came another guy called Pierre Judevolier, where it was a French character.
Okay.
Right? And so fast forward, we go to His Majesty the King. Why not? It came from same guy, my chiropractor. His name is Olman Mata. And I met him at the castle some 26 years ago. And he goes, what about the king? Malek means king. So why don't you do the king?
Yeah, still your name.
Perfect.
Okay. All
so it became His Imperial Majesty the King, HIM the King, or sometimes I just put HM the King.
Right.
So when they introduce me, they don't introduce me as David Malek. They don't introduce me as anything. They just say, you, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Majesty the King.
Okay.
Done deal. So especially at the castle,
right.
it's over.
Right.
They think I'm the king of the castle.
Right.
And so I have a website up. I have business cards that I put out there, and it says, everybody thinks they can get into the Magic Castle. So I give them a card, and then when they go on the website, it says, sorry, you'll have to figure out a different way to get in. His Majesty does not give out passes to go to the Magic Castle.
Perfect.
They think they can just come up to, we know the king.
Right,
We've met the
right,
king.
yeah.
That's happened before,
Oh, that's
where
awesome.
people are turned away at the door. They're like, wait a minute. The king said to come back any time.
Yeah,
of
I
course.
have permission from your liege.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And they say no. I must have pissed off a lot of people
Oh my
that
goodness!
way.
Yeah, you've caused like an entire attendance fiasco.
True.
Okay.
So, but the marketing, as far as I got you already. I've got you with the character, and then later on, I get you with the magic. So you're fooled on two different levels. Not you or the magicians that know me, but rather the people that don't know me that come in.
Right.
They think, oh, he's the king. And then, so that's illusion number one. And illusion number two is the actual magic
The
that
show
you do.
itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, and that character, it's taken form now where it does seem like I would understand, after knowing you for several years now, why people might be fooled into thinking that's you, right? That's just you on stage talking.
It's just a different name.
Right.
It could be whatever, the Count of Monte Cristo.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
I would formulate myself to turn into this particular person. It all starts right up here. That's with anything that you do. If you really believe in something that you're doing, right? Then, but it's also a comical. It's a farce. Because nowadays I've gone away from the technical aspect of it. It still was entertaining while it was technical, but I would rather, because I had to go on stage and to entertain larger audiences in order to make a living.
Right.
I like to focus on the entertainment aspect of it, more so probably 80% than the technical aspect. The technical aspect of it, you can be a great technician. There's plenty of them out there.
Yeah, right.
But they can't entertain.
Right.
They're like, okay, and then I do this and I do that. And that's fine. We need those people. They love the craft,
Right.
all right? And they take it forward just with technical improvements, and we move forward with the whole thing. But then there's another side. There's the show,
Right.
and then there's the business, and then in magic there's like the hobbyist tinkerers.
Right.
Right? Nothing wrong with any
Right.
area.
Room enough for all of those people. Right.
Right. So there's the business side, which is probably 80% of my life now is trying to get business.
Right.
And then the other 20% is the show side, so it's show business. And I need the show part to be as funny and as engaging as possible. So I focus in on entertaining the audience as opposed to showing people what I can actually do with regard to the cards and this and that. That's to me tertiary.
Okay.
Your showmanship is number one. The character or whatever is going to be number two. Then there's the way the character dresses. There's lighting. There's music. There's all these different things. And then comes the magic. Great example of this is Jeff Hobson.
Okay.
He has a character.
Right.
He has the clothing, right, with all the shiny stuff.
Right.
He has the lighting. He has the music. And then comes the magic. In fact, he sells everything that he performs. You can buy the exact egg bag. You can buy the exact egg. You can buy the exact thumb tie. You can buy everything the man does, exactly the same props.
Right.
He sews them up or has somebody sew them up and gives them to you or sells them to you.
Right.
but you can't be him. So that, I think, is the key to any show business. Nobody can be Prince.
Right.
Prince
Yeah.
is Prince.
Right.
Nobody can be Elvis. Elvis is Elvis.
Right.
Anybody that tries is barking up the wrong tree.
Right.
So you have to be you. I have to be me. Everyone should be themselves, theoretically.
Right,
Don't
yeah.
try to be like somebody else.
Yeah, right, yeah. It's okay if you got to learn by imitation, but then get busy doing your own thing. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
We all learn by imitation. That's what acting essentially is, holding a mirror to life, imitation of the reality. That's why what made Marlon Brando the greatest actor that has ever lived. Well, there's been a few.
Right.
Laurence Olivier, okay. But he was a genius at holding the mirror up to life.
Okay.
When he first started on Broadway in A Streetcar Named Desire, people talked about, why is he mumbling? We can't hear him. Because he basically spearheaded the new way of acting, which was acting like you would normally act in real life.
Right.
Everything you see on screen today is because of him.
Huh. I had no
He
idea.
changed the entire landscape. Yeah, people forget that. Of course, he was a little cuckoo. You know, he
Yeah,
was
right,
he was a genius
Right.
in that. Look at his rendition of The Godfather. Now everyone's idea of The Godfather
Yeah,
is what
no, it did.
Marlon Brando
He is,
did.
yeah, right. Yeah. He is the quintessential Godfather, and
Right.
everyone else.
That was later on in his career. That was when he was in his 50s. But he created, it was actually fashioned after Frank Capra, which was the chief Indian in, what was that? What was that movie? What was that television show? I forget. It'll come to me.
Okay.
Anyway, Frank Capra was supposed to play the Godfather, and he actually, Brando, of course, they wanted to cast
Yeah,
Brando.
yeah,
So
did.
Brando used footage of him to formulate what the Godfather was going to be like.
Huh.
And then he added all the other shtick by putting, something in his cheek and talking the way that he did.
Right.
But so I mean, that's the genius of Marlon Brando. 2 Academy Awards, that picture.
Right.
He won the
Yeah.
Academy Award for Best Actor.
Right.
That was his second. The first one was On the Waterfront,
Right.
which again he broke another
I was gonna say,
barrier
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, but it is essentially you. You become what you are. It has to be a part of you.
Right.
A thief is within you to be. You could be a murderer. You can be anything.
Right.
It's within you to be that.
Right.
But bringing that to bear, to bring that to the stage, that's a different program.
Yeah.
Look at Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen in the filming of Apocalypse Now
Right.
had a nervous breakdown.
Right. Yeah.
He was so into the character.
Well, like Heath Ledger, right? Like,
Yeah, same.
Well, you watch these characters where, apparently, whenever the Joker, like Joaquin Phoenix for the Joker, you watch these guys touch something, and then it brings something out in them, and then they're dealing with the consequences long after the cameras are off.
Correct. It's kind of like crying on stage. Like if you have to work yourself up into such a frenzy, at least I do,
Right.
that the rest of the day for me after that is wrecked.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah,
I'm totally-
I
yeah.
need a hot cocoa and a blanket. Like,
Correct.
Yeah.
And you don't tell anybody because it loses its power when you tell people how you do it, what you're thinking of, and how you work yourself up into that. Then later on, you can't do it again. I made that mistake one time. Okay. So, but for me, like for example, really getting it, especially when it's something very, very sad,
Right.
it destroys the rest of the day for me. Some of these actors that can go on stage and do it every night and do it the same, or it can't be the same. It's got to be different.
Right.
But then they move on with the rest of the play. I really admire that. It's just brilliant.
That's like Broadway actors. You watch someone do something on Broadway that is emotionally charged. I don't know how they have the energy to do. I can barely deal with my emotions on a daily basis anyway, right?
You have to be a little cuckoo.
Maybe a bit.
Most people in acting shouldn't be in acting. They should be in therapy.
Yeah, right. They need help.
They do.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So stepping away from the character for a bit, the work that you've done. In several instances, you've done several things that you haven't talked about outside of the performance arena, right? I've watched you do several pieces that aren't written down anywhere except, I'm assuming, in your private notebooks. But you have explored 2 things that you did publish, right? The 10-card poker deal and
Right.
the card to wallet theme.
Correct.
Tell me a little bit about that. What was it that made you chase those two?
Well, I always loved the dream card, and I wanted to put down. Michael Vincent said you took it to the next level by writing the book. You know, in Darwin Ortiz's book, At the Card Table, I think it occupies 3 pages.
Yeah,
right?
It's small.
And then I wrote another 100 and something
small,
pages
just
on
a
it.
small 400% more. Yeah.
Because if I'm going to explain how to do something, I think it's something that it's a trick that not everybody should do, but there's a lot of different lessons in there that can help you with other parts of your magic, and attention to detail, how to put the wallet in the coat, what happens with the slide. And I just put it out there just to add to the literature. You know, magic's given so much to me. It was my way of giving back to magic. So, but I wanted to take it, if I was going to do it. I don't explain how the trick's done, believe it or not, in the book.
Right, yeah.
Because it's not my trick to explain. You'll have to go to Darwin Ortiz at the Card Table, learn how to do it there, and then the next logical step is to buy my book and figure out. But I changed it around rather than I actually force a card in there. And there's a reason for that. And that's in the book. So I wanted to show another dimension to it. And then with the 10-card poker deal, I pretty much didn't like anything that had ever been put out on the 10-card poker deal. I didn't like the trick itself.
Okay.
But then, here we go with Mike Weber again.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Mike, I remember you and I had that conversation.
Correct.
Before the book.
In fact, he has a booklet called 10, right?
Right.
And in that book, there's a phase that he tears the cards. And then when I saw that, because there was no ending to the 10-card poker deal, the person loses and loses and loses and loses. Oh, so what?
Yeah.
It's no big deal. But this was a brilliant idea that Michael Weber had. And then I turned around and I changed it a little bit and added it so that at the end, if one condition is met, that the person wins with 5 aces. The magician wins with 5 aces. Now, you may think that doesn't make sense, but really in California poker, if you get dealt the joker, because they play with 53 cards,
Right.
A regular deck and a joker, if you get dealt 4 aces and the joker, you can beat out anybody with 5 aces.
Right.
So, and that is the highest hand, right? So, I don't know, we'll have to ask Ron about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll call Ron later.
So theoretically, you can win with 5 aces. So it does mirror life. It's reality as it applies to California poker.
Right.
You can get 5 aces and win with 5 aces. And so I thought, wow, now we have an ending.
Right.
Because the Jonah card actually, and the Jonah card goes back and forth into the spectator's hand and also into your hand, and you still beat them.
Right. That was the game changer. Everywhere that I've ever seen it written down, performed, it's always been a very protected process, right? That you are avoiding the Jonah card as much as possible by hook or by crook, as much as necessary, and yours is much more freeform.
Right. It starts out very stilted, right? I just deal the cards, and then slowly as the phases build up, more and more control seemingly is relinquished. Truth is, you can relinquish all that control right from the beginning, but you know, that's another layer to it. You seemingly slowly relinquish control, but still win. Right? So normally, if the spectator gets the Jonah card, the spectator will always lose.
Right.
Okay, but there's a way that you can put the Jonah card in your own hand and win.
Right.
In fact, one of the funniest things were, once I made a mistake, and I gave myself the Jonah card, and I knew the hand was going to lose.
Right.
Okay, so I'm in performance, and I say to the person, "Do you want to feel it?" Because I keep beating him and beating him and beating him.
Right.
And the king said, "So do you want to know what it feels like to be?" So I'm sitting there, I'm going to lose the hand. What do I do?
Right.
I said, "So, do you want to feel like what it's like to be the king?" And the guy goes, "Yes." I said, "All right, stand up." And I switched places with him. So now I got his hand, which is the winner, and he's got my hand, which is the loser.
Oh, that's perfect.
I said, "Turn over your hand, you lose. Turn over my hand, I'm the winner."
Right.
I said, "You know what the lesson here is? Don't try to be someone else.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, all right. Yeah, no, it can be.
You can't be the king. The king always wins."
Yeah, right, yeah. It doesn't matter what
Done
it's.
deal.
Yeah,
So in that spot, right, we take around. Now you use the character
right.
to turn lemons into lemonade.
There you go. Perfect. Very good.
And then the ending, of course, with the tearing, Michael Weber's brilliant. I mean, genius. And I'm very thankful that he allowed me to put that into print. Of course, we give him credit, stuff like that too.
Right.
And then, of course, there's the Bob Farmer wrote a huge book. There's a lot of great things in that.
Okay.
I think anybody that wants to study the 10-card poker deal has to study that. And then, of course, all these routines go back to the original Phoenix, where the 10-card poker deal is first put into print for Magic. You know, originally comes from gambling. That's the first instance, pardon me, that you find it in Magic is in the Phoenix. So,
Okay.
and most of the routines have that basis to them.
Right.
And
Yeah, they all sort of grow from that same tree.
From that thing. But the Bob Farmer, I wanted mine to be a pure, just 10 cards.
Okay.
But there are versions that use 20 cards, and where you do a switch, or you go and you do a full deck setup. But that's all in the Bob Farmer book, and I think if viewers are interested in learning about that's one of the things too.
Okay.
But for the first time in my Ultimate 10-card poker deal, you get a complete routine, but also an ending that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, something that lets it drop off on a high note instead of the same note overemphasized.
Right, exactly. And that's what didn't appeal to me. I remember Darwin Ortiz doing it to me when I was, 18, 19 years old, when I first got into Magic. Wasn't impressed.
Okay.
Wasn't impressed at all. Not that he wasn't good,
Right.
okay? It's just that the trick was flat. I win. Okay,
Yeah.
so what?
Yeah.
Then you add the element of the character and the comedy to it.
Right.
Like, you know why I won? Because I'm the king. In fact, mosquitoes refuse to bite me purely out of respect.
Yeah.
And then you go into another phase, and there's another line, and then another line, and then another line.
Right.
So they want to lose.
Right. Yeah.
Why? So they can hear what the next line's
the
going to
next
be.
thing. Yeah,
Because
right.
there's no payoff at the end for people that lose. Okay, so you lost.
Right.
Okay.
Because then it's all adversarial. It's all you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid. I'm smart. I'm smart. I'm smart.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Or there's ways in which you can soften the blow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I apologize, but you lose again.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do this to you. But unfortunately, even though you picked everything, you had complete control, and that you lose again.
Right.
Now I'm going to let you have whatever control that you want. Of course, they don't have control. They can have control over literally 90% of it.
Right.
Or 95%. It's that one.
It's the one,
It's that
yeah.
one little card that needs to go where it needs to go, and that ensures either you win or you lose.
Right. Right.
So, but the interesting thing is that the routine should also build on control. So on multiple levels. So the first one, they don't seem to really have as much control. Then you slowly, as each phase builds, I think there's 7 phases in my routine, you give them what appears to be more and more control.
Right.
That's part of it. So it's a very difficult routine. It's a self-working routine, but it's not self-working.
Yeah. Yeah. It's self-working in mechanics, maybe, but definitely not in performance. Like.
Right, but that's a great routine to learn if you're learning how to perform, because once this is automatic, and it's very easy with the overhand shuffles to bring the Jonah card in and deal it out and stuff like that. It's super simple.
Right.
So it allows you to have not only a time-tested routine, but once the technical aspects of it are squared away, it now allows you to focus on your performance,
Okay.
right? And that's the most important part, because in order to make that trick successful, you need to bring a lot to the performance. Because if I just deal and lose, okay, so what?
Right.
But what do you bring to it? And I got a bunch of different ideas, whether it's husband against wife, or you're against a lady where you let the lady win every single time.
Right.
Or
Right.
a child, if you're doing stuff for a family,
Right.
the kid can win constantly,
Yeah.
right? Or the husband can lose to the wife, and you're just a conduit. You're just a dealer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're just doing what you're told. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And so she keeps beating him. And then, of course, the version that I do, where it's the character and I beat the spectator. But I'm trying to, be nice
Right.
and
Yeah,
give him
the benevolent dictator.
absolutely. Why not?
Right. Right. Well, and that's the other thing is it's a strong routine inherently, but it gives you enough room to sort of explore the different ways that you could present it, which I think gives someone the room to explore who they are as a performer.
Correct.
As well.
Right.
So that was one of the things I really appreciated about what you were presenting was it's strong. If you wrote, it would still be strong, even if you aren't necessarily a strong performer yet. But it gives you the opportunity to sort of build on top of it, and it's a strong enough base to hold it.
Right. You can fashion the routine so that whatever it is you do, let's say you're an engineer, you can create a routine with that will cast a light on you as an engineer, or you as a cook, or you as a lawyer, or you as a whatever you want it to be, if you use a little bit of your imagination. So it's all done there for you. Now all you need to do is use your imagination to figure out how are you going to make it fun, interesting, and also use your own persona to accentuate the performance. Let's put it that way.
Very good. Very cool. Well, okay, so you're 2 books in. The world is starting to open a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You're performing. You're doing the business side of things. Are there any things that you're working on or things that you're excited about here in the future?
I'm excited actually about a lot of different things. I didn't know that we still don't know. We still don't know. We're still in a gray area here as to whether this thing's going to come back or not.
Right.
The world has changed with regard to the cancel culture.
Right.
Comedy has changed.
Right.
Everything has changed. Some for the good and some not so good.
Less so.
Even
Okay.
Bill Maher is riling against the cancel culture.
Right.
When you're in a performance arena, that should be sacrosanct. That you can do whatever you want to do. It's performance art.
Right.
Especially if it's, for example, at the Magic Castle, you have a nightclub in the Hollywood Hills that's for people that are over 21 that has live interactive entertainment along with alcohol.
Right.
And so that's a recipe for a mess with today's quote unquote PC culture.
Right.
Or in the comedy clubs. I know a lot of people that quit comedy because of the cancel culture, or these people sitting out there and he's like, this is comedy, it's not real.
Right.
This is just for fun.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's even more damning for me because people believe the character is real.
Right, yeah. Yeah, they assume you're one and the same.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so it's more difficult for me to get over this. But things are coming back. We'll see what happens with regard to, hopefully there won't be any variants that are, there can be variants of this thing that are benign, and then on the other end of it, you could get a variant that really is, but I think it'll be endemic and we'll have to live with it, and eventually everyone's going to get it.
Right.
And hopefully you won't die.
Yeah, right, yeah. That maybe the process will keep you alive.
But with that said, and the reason why I preface that is because we don't know whether companies are going to be having, because of Zoom and people that are working remotely, are companies and people going to come together on the corporate level?
Right.
I know that concerts and things like that, they're going to come back. People want that entertainment.
Right.
But as far as the corporate world, which is where most of my money is made, performing, will that come back? I don't know. I have no idea. I thought during the pandemic to change careers entirely, believe it or not, and just do it as a hobby. But I'm an artist at heart,
right.
And I find it very, very difficult to do that. So what's the future? I'm working on another book.
Okay.
In fact, I'm working on 2 books, hopefully, and it's more of a card to wallet stuff,
Okay.
a completely different book.
Okay.
I may combine the 2.
Okay.
And then I'm working on some other projects as well. So we'll see. We'll
Okay.
see.
All right.
I think the future is bright, and all these people on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, I mean, some brilliant performers that are really, over the course of the pandemic, have pushed sleight of hand to its
Somewhere else, right?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
There's a young man who does the Erdnase shift on Instagram. Phenomenal. Johannes Mauser out of Munich, Germany.
Okay.
Brilliant. Card controls and stuff like that. There's a lot of guys out there that are really, really phenomenal. And I think that the pandemic has helped push magic and sleight of hand forward. Look at Charlie Fry. Did you see all the stuff
Dude.
that he put on there?
Yeah. This guy has been busy.
Genius.
Yeah.
I mean, what a genius. Unbelievable. I couldn't wait to get up in the morning to watch what he had to do next. The thinking, it's brilliant. I mean, he'll fool you. You look at this stuff and you go, and then you got to rewind and look again, and then rewind and look again, and rewind and look again. That's how good he is.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal.
And there's been several people, you watch them shift. You watch them shift gears into like what needed to be done in order to keep magic going under whatever circumstances, and they carried the lessons with them.
Absolutely.
And it's fascinating to watch how it shifted things, and I personally think for the better. I understand the pandemic and the lockdown, it made it very, very difficult for a live performance style, but there were so many lessons that people found out it doesn't transfer. There are some things that don't transfer. Right, they just tried to take their live show, throw it up on a Zoom show, and it didn't play, right?
That's correct.
But then you watch the people who stuck around and found out what did, what played no matter what, what they had to shave off, what they had to add and everything, and they took those lessons with them. So now their shows are so much stronger because I feel like they know where the core is. And now they're playing there, and I love that. I can't get enough of that.
I agree. And also technology.
Oh, yeah.
The technology helped a lot too. We said, what can we do? It's technology to help us.
Yeah.
And of course.
Yeah, Will Houston, watching him do his whole show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They wrote a book on it, whole thing.
Yeah, I had a whole website and everything set up very quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will Houston is a very, very smart, drier than the Sahara Desert.
Yes.
I'll tell you that.
Yes. True.
What a personality.
Yes.
But very, very intelligent,
with
very,
the
very
brains,
smart.
with
I like Will. He's fabulous.
Yeah, he's very.
In fact, I performed with him. He was an early close-up. I was late the last time he performed at the Castle.
That's right, because I was up there.
Yeah.
While I was waiting in line, he and I got to catch a drink and talk about you behind your back.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I really like and respect him a lot. He's great.
Yes, very much so. Well, David, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for coming on the channel. And if you guys want to know any more about him, I'll go ahead and put links in the description below. So thank you all for watching. Here we go. Done and dusted. All right.